As you can see, we got another motorcycle on the lift. This one's a 1985 California 2, and you'll remember this from the trip I made on the Honda Rebel 250. Go meet a friend and haul back a couple of bikes. This is one of them. Supposedly it's got a lot of nice upgrades, but in the coming videos, you're going to find out if that's true or not. Wiring and redoing these coils. When I got the bike, told you I had wiring problems. These coils were in a box. Somebody cut all the wires, so I'm trying to get this stuff reconnected. And you can see the mess in here. So I got those hooked up to what I think is proper. I'm going to double check, but then I come over here to this garbage, and there's just like these wires and the metal pieces are exposed. So I've got to get some heat shrink on those, and I can't have exposed wires. Then some of them are going above this frame, some running below the frame and back around to those coils. It's just a heaping mess. I'm just gonna take it all back apart and try to group the wires together and clean this up so there's some resemblance of order to this chaos. Now here's where we are. I've used this wire sheath. It's that Chinese finger lock type stuff. So you can swell it up and put it over things. I used heat shrink to seal the end on that end. And then I made it a little bit long so that it covers all of these wires. So you have this much exposed wire, which is what you'll need if you, for some reason, have to take it apart. But now all of this matches up really nicely and will tuck into the frame and not have this crazy wiring mess everywhere. So these wires are way too long for where the ignition is mounted, because they'll connect here to these factory wires. So I doubled them up a couple of times and then put a small piece of heat shrink just to hold them. Next up, we'll put the sheathing on these to clean all of these wires up and go. Then I think this will really help this ignition system not look like such a rat's nest of wires. Or, since it's a Moto Guzzi, such a tangled mess of spaghetti. Here we are after we've cleaned everything up. You can see the hose, the sheath, wire sheathing, both of them laid in here. The ground wire run. I like to hook them to this top bolt here. Every Guzzi I've got with the Dyna ignition, everybody seems to mount it here, and that's such a pain in the butt, because every time you adjust your valves, you got to take this wire off, remember to put it back, and just the constant back and forth with the wire, I would be afraid that it's going to eventually cause problems and break that wire. And here is a place that you just never have to worry about it again. And so that works well. You can see it's much cleaner in through here. And I guess the good thing is, while I was playing in here, I've found this purple and blue wire in the harness that go nowhere. So I have to figure out what those go to, and are they really important? Who knows? And then I found this really nice high-end wire terminal. Somebody must have thought they was working on a boat trailer. Anyway, I've got to chase these wires and see what this is. Runs into this harness where they've just wrapped it with a ton of black tape. And there's this. So let's maneuver this around. So it's the oil pressure gauge. So I'm going to leave it connected. Maybe they need an oil pressure gauge. Maybe this thing's having issues there. We'll find out once I sort out the rest of the wiring harness. And here's these. So they're sliced here, and then they were spliced back here. And in that parts box, I've got a voltage regulator somewhere. I've got to figure that out. We're going to try to find a way to mount it somewhere where we can get some air to it. Now we've moved in here. Let's zoom in a little bit. and built this aluminum bracket to hold the regulator so that it can get plenty of cooling air. So anyway, move the horns out to the side and move the voltage regulator in front of the fender instead of behind the side cover as it originally was. Make sure it gets plenty of air. Now we've just got to do the wiring. It's a two-phase, so there's your two phases. This big old long piece here is what was run to the back. And then we've got to clean up all of these yellow connectors, and I just make everything look a little bit nicer. And then we should be ready to put a battery on it and let it turn over, see what happens. Okay, so I have figured out, talked to some people that's knowledgeable on the Gootsies. This purple wire was a part of the old charging system, which they had a regulator and a rectifier setup, you know. So this was a part of that system, and so was the blue wire. But the purple wire, trace it back, and it comes into this piece that plugged into the old unit right there. You can see it, that purple wire. So what we're going to do is connect that over to the fuse block that's got an open terminal here that is also a switched lead, and then run this, which is already in the factory harness, and the wires, as you can see, are really in good shape. So that's plenty to run the voltage sensing wire on the regulator. You know, it runs off of milliamps. It just needs to know what the voltage is. So we're about to hook that up real quick here and get that part of the charging system done. Actually, at that point, it should charge the battery once we get this cranked. So here's where we're at with this. This black lead is really black lead is your voltage sensor. We're going to connect it up to this purple wire. And you've probably seen these things advertised. I like them. I built a chopper which would completely strip the wiring harness down on it. And then I use these for connectors, and that unit has been on the road for years. Got a lot of miles out of it. And I've not had any issues whatsoever with it. You still need this solder to work right, so it's gotta flow. So as you heat it up, you've got to watch it and make sure it flows out. So you just watch it really closely, and you see the solder starting to seep into the wires. And once it seeps in there, if you've soldered, then you'll know what you're looking for. Then that's exactly what you need. We'll get all of this stuff in a loom together in a minute. See, this one's power, this one's power, this one's not, and that one's not. So those bottom two are your power. So we're going to switch on the key since I've got a battery hooked up now. And let's look up here. We have 12.5 volts there. So all of these have voltage to them. And these two have open spot on them. So we're going to tie into those. I've pulled the purple wire off of this 3-prong plug, and a piece of heat shrink for this plug, since it's going to be powered up. We don't want any metal showing to short it out. So as you can see, I've taken this off, and we will pull this wire through. There it goes. And now we can put this back in here. Other one started right through here. There we go. Fuse is back. I had fuses like this in the old Airhead I had. There's an R75/6. I want to do the same thing here. I want to go still buy these things. They're just hard to find. So I like to buy some and put them on the bike. So if you get out on the road and end up having a problem, then you got fuses on you. It's a good idea anyway, but especially with these, you can pop a fuse in a town and have a little bit of trouble. So, pop this back on. We turn the key on, no sparks. How do you like that? It's like we meant to do it. Yep, we've got voltage, so that's good. But while we're here, I want to check the voltage of this wire. I just want to see if any of this stuff that's no longer connected is hot. All honesty, it shouldn't be. Showing 0 volts. And this one also 0 volts, but let's see. That shows your 12 volts. So this black is what it looks like it is. It's a ground. So we got to do something with that. I just made a bit of a loss. I don't want to just cut it out, but I got to do something right. So there's so much junk in here. And it's just all wrapped one right on top of the other. So we've got that. Since you're here, right? Let's just check. Everything's on, hooked up. Let's see if it'll turn over. That's good. Turns over good. These switches, they're something for me. Okay. All right, blinker works. Let's see. We got that. And then right over here, you've got the left blinker working. And we got lights. I like the fact that you can shut everything off. And let's check. We got brake lights. See if any of y'all have done anything as dumb as this just to do checks on a motor. 4,000 RPM. Around 3,500, 4,000. You can see the voltage is just not regulating. Checked the wire that feeds what voltage the battery's at, and I'm getting the same battery voltage as I am on the wire that feeds the regulators. That's working well. So we got to figure out what's taking place, and it could just be the regulator's bad. You know, it's always a option. Man, that didn't work out exactly the way we had hoped, at least not the way I hoped. I really expected that voltage regulator to work. Everything's supposed to work fine when it was stopped. That regulator looked like a new unit, didn't look old, but it was obvious that thing was not working. So that means we've got some more work to do before this thing is really roadworthy. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and when we drop the next video that shows how we fix this charging problem, you can stay tuned in that. This is Augie, 1 mile at a time. I'll catch you guys later.